Hey everybody, I am HybridTriad, and I'm here to you today to bring you the awesome story of All Paths Lead Home by the writer Mystic. Now, I found this story on FIMFiction a while ago, and I read through the whole entire series, and I thought it was really, really good. I even commented on almost every single chapter. At least I believe so. Either way, I am here today mostly to bring you chapter by chapter of this incredible tale, and I really hope that you enjoy it. Thank you for watching. Chapter 1. The World of Grey. The mare stands, bathed in sunlight, on top of a small green hill. The air is fresh, cool, and clean. Smiling, she inhales deeply, filling her lungs until she can hold no more. A soft breeze tickles her mane, blowing it gently around her face. She flicks her tail happily and presses her hooves deeper into the ground, reveling in the soft grass that stretches out as far as she can see. Around her, butterflies dance gently in the air, their chaotic routines exuding a serene beauty and peace. The mare stares out onto the green pastures around her as they rise and fall with the undulating landscape, each hill forming an almost perfect bell curve. To her left, trees dot the landscape, their branches swaying gently like her mane in the breeze. In the distance, great mountains sulk on the horizon, their figures gloomy and vague, partly covered in great, dark clouds. It is utterly silent except for the wind. The mare begins to trot down the hill on which she stands, feeling her muscles move in cohesion with each other, each one working independently, yet also simultaneously to create movement. Upon reaching the bottom of the hill, the mare finds a small stream, its bubbling finally adding another sound to the comfortable silence. The mare dips her head down and tastes the water. It's sweet, pure, and unsullied. She lifts her head to stare into the sky, watching as the small light clouds move rapidly across the sky, their bodies becoming elongated by the wind. Careful as to not to step in the water, the mare crosses the stream and makes her way up the other side of the hill. On this hill there are small wildflowers, their petals open, gladly receiving the sun's warm embrace. The mare stops and sniffs one slowly. The scent is soft, but pleasant and stirs something deep inside the pony. She continues up the hill, her pace increasing as she finally crests the summit. The mare halts with a sense of unnameable unease. Below her, the grass has suddenly stopped. She looks around and sees that the pastures are still behind her. She puts a hoof gently into the dirt in front of her. It puffs up in small clouds when she touches it, a substance of very little matter. Hesitantly, the mare reaches down to inspect the dirt closer. She nudges it carefully with her nose, and the dust causes her to sneeze. Ash. She looks up. The gigantic ash fields stretch out in front of her like a horrific nightmare. Where's the grass? Where's the... A low boom reverberates around the earth, shaking the mare where she stands. It is followed by another, and another, each one shuddering the very foundations of the world. The mountains are now covered in a terrible red glow, illuminating their rock faces with a light the color of blood, the shadows of smoke dancing feverishly, visible even from this distance. The mare stares with widened eyes as a great cloud rises up from the mountains and begins to race toward her. The cloud is immense in size, its black, billowing body highlighted by the terrifying red glow emanating from within. The sound of thunder, as loud as cannons, begins to reach the mare even as she sees the first flashes of lightning light up the ash fields. With a great rush of darkness, the cloud passes over the mare, plunging the land into shadow. Looking up, she can see the source of the red glow. Fire. She gasps in fear as the sky itself begins to burn, the body of the cloud feeding the flames. With a horrendous roar, the whole of the storm becomes engulfed in fire, the excess falling to the ground, igniting everything it touches. The mare turns and runs down the hill back towards the stream as the sky continues to rain fire. She watches as the grass begins to burn, as do the trees, their branches silhouetted against the flames. The stream has become choked with ash, the water a diseased gray color. She crosses the stream and makes her way back up the first hill. The mare looks behind her and feels the ground fall away from beneath her hooves. In the distance, a huge wall of fire and ash is streaking across the earth, swallowing up the hill's whole. The mare desperately picks up the pace, trying in vain to outrun the fire. Tears stream down her face as she chokes against the smoke filling her lungs. Her muscles grow tired and uncooperative. As her vision starts to blur, she falls to the ground, retching as her lungs fill with poison. She pays little attention to the burns from the grass. Weakly, she lifts her head, looking towards the grass in the distance not yet touched by the fire. "Oh," she whispers before letting her head hit her hooves, defeated. With a blinding flash and searing heat, the wall of fire rushes over the land, leaving nothing but ash and destruction in its wake. Above, the sky continues to burn, raining death upon the world. With a start, the mare woke violently, her breath coming in shuddering gasps. She fumbled around desperately, searching in the shadow, unable to see a thing. The darkness was impenetrable, all-consuming and ever-present. It bore down on the mare with a physical weight. The pony was unable to concentrate. The dream still lingered within her mind, its presence taunting her. Forcing herself to breathe normally, the mare laid back down, listening intently. Beside her, she could hear the soft inhaling and exhaling of a small figure, each precious breath sustaining life in more ways than one. She allowed the sound to fill her consciousness as her heart rate slowly returned to normal. Now feeling considerably better, the mare drew her ragged and filthy blankets around her tightly. It was cold outside, and she was sure if she could see, there would be small puffs of fog coming from her breath. Her stomach rumbled as she continued to lie still. It had almost been 2 days since she had last eaten. The majority of her meager food supplies always went to the precious pony beside her. On the horizon, the mare could swear she saw a weak glow. Dawn was coming. In the all-consuming darkness that was the night, the mare was thankful for the frail light of dawn. It made the world feel less claustrophobic. She just hoped that Princess Luna wouldn't be mad at her for having those thoughts. It had been so long since she had even seen the moon or the stars. The mare stayed utterly silent as the light on the horizon slowly became stronger. Before long, she could just begin to make out objects in the perpetual gloom. The smell of decay lingered in the air. On their left, trees rose up, their skeletal branches sticking out into the sky, empty and naked. On their right, the ground jutted up sharply into a jagged rock face, forming the side of the gully in which they were currently sleeping. It was a feeble shelter, but it was out of sight of the road, and probably safe. Finally, with a sense of incompleteness, dawn arrived in full. The mare watched the faint glow breaking through the clouds. The light illuminated the edges of the suspended vapor, a faint gold furnishing the gray and ash. She watched the morning sadly. "Where are you?" she whispered to the sky. "Are you hiding away from us behind those clouds? Hiding away from the world? Is this your judgment? Do you hear us at all?" The mare was met with nothing but the gentle rustling of ash as it stirred over the land and in the sky. "Are you dead? Are you lost? Or have you been judged yourselves? Judged by the fire, like everything else in this world?" Overhead, the clouds shifted, rolling over itself to censor the light. Lowering her head, unable to continue, the mare got up. She could only assume that it was the sun in the sky. She just whispered to Celestia every day, and every day dawn came. A faint cough caused her to look down at the small form lying on the ground next to her. "Mama?" asked a small, weak voice. "I'm right here, little one." "Good," was all she said in reply, lowering her head back down onto the rough pillow of rags. The mare watched her daughter tenderly, her bony frame rising and falling with each breath. She was so thin, too thin, almost as if the slightest gust of wind would shatter her fragile body. Not that the mare herself was any better. The older pony lowered the hood she wore while sleeping, letting her tangled mane free. She was clothed in an assortment of rags that would have once been described as clothing, all wrapped together to provide as much cover and warmth as possible. The mare poked her head into one of their old, worn saddlebags and returned with a small metal canteen of water. It was almost empty. She unscrewed it with her mouth and took a small mouthful, trying not to think of the taste. She offered the filly some. Come on, you have to drink. I'm not thirsty, the small pony replied. Yes, you are. Your lips are cracked. Cracked was generous. Her lips almost appeared twisted, dead skin peeling off of their dehydrated owner. But there won't be any left for you. The mare smiled softly at her foal. I've already had some. Now it's your turn. Slowly, and with hesitation, the filly got up and walked over to her mother. She was dressed almost identically to the mare, an assortment of rags and pieces of clothing stitched and wrapped together to form an almost uniform piece, covering the wearer from head to hoof. She, too, had her hood down now. When the filly reached the mare, she offered the canteen to the young one, who took it and indulged herself in the smallest of sips. Do you want any more? The filly shook her head. The mare turned and placed the water bottle back inside the pack, wrestling it amongst the lantern and the small cooking stove powered by whatever gasoline they could find. Gas had been a new substance in Equestria before the end, and hard to find even then. As such, every drop was precious. There wasn't much else in that bag. The other pack held the candles for the lantern, a single storybook for the filly, a small, ragged plush pony stained with ash, a needle and thread, some matches, 2 pairs of old goggles, some glow sticks she had found years ago yet never used, and finally, a small knife was strapped to the outside of the pack, in easy reach when they were being worn, and that was all she owned in the world. The mare hated the knife. Its pitted edge whispered about acts of horrendous cruelty, the kind of behavior the pony would not have thought possible before the end. She had never used it, but carried it out of necessity. The mare could never imagine actually cutting another pony. The thought made her sick, for it was an act she had seen too much over the years. She was not like them. She couldn't be like them, especially with her daughter. Come on, we should leave, the mare said to the small pony behind her. The filly merely nodded and stuffed the rich patchwork of rags that was her pillow into one of the packs. The mare followed suit with the blanket, its thick, tough, and waterproof exterior making it hard to fold. With everything back inside the saddlebags, the mare slipped them over her head, using her mouth to tighten them. Over the years she had watched the groove marks of where the buckles rested becoming higher and higher. She did not want to think what it would mean should they continue to do so. Together, this mare and the small filly walked out of the gully through the skeletal trees, leaving their campsite behind them. Upon cresting the hill, the mare stared out over the land. Before them lay an empty plain, its surface broken only by the softest of hills. There wasn't any grass here. There was only gray and ash. The mare let her gaze rise up the plain. The monotony of the fields of gray was finally broken by the looming shapes of mountains in the distance, their forms bruised purple in the weak light. In front of them lay a road, stretching out towards the mountains through the gray. A gentle wind threw the ash into soft swirls that breezed across the ground, disappearing behind rises only to reappear in the distance. Despite the visibility promised by the day, the temperature had barely increased. The mare could definitely see the fog expelled by her breathing now, each puff a reminder that there was, despite everything, warmth inside her body. It was a small comfort. The mare drew her hood over her head with a hoof, poking her ears through the holes in the top as she did. Closing her eyes for a brief moment, the 2 ponies started to walk north along the road and towards the mountains. Well, I could definitely say that was a very good beginning to the story. Essentially it was what drew me in right off the bat. Kind of dark, kind of mysterious, and it came in as a dream kind of thing. A little cliche, but I think the Mystic did it very, very well. So I'll have only a few more seconds until my memory is up for the movie. Don't ask me. It's not letting me go past 15. So, I shall be getting up the next part of the story as soon as possible, and I hope that you will enjoy it as much as I did. This is HybridTriad, aka Scripture, and I'll be seeing you next time I am able to post up the next part of the movie. Or story. Sorry, my bad. It's late here. Good night.